Manchester United 0, 3 points in the bag. The first double over Manchester United since 1989, which is crazy. And
wow,
when's the last time we've done the treble over them? Because we've done the treble over them this season
apparently
as well.
Since the 20s.
That's madness. Absolute madness. And yeah, it was a good day all round yesterday with the protests, 3 points on the board, 5 players coming back into the first team as well. So, I mean, yesterday was a good day, wasn't it? Good day to be a Spurs fan.
Yeah, we have had very few of those recently, so I think you've got to always appreciate the good days when they come around, because when you've been on the run that we have, and finally, I think, when you have a win like yesterday, you see the players come back like yesterday. I think there was improvement. There was more cohesion in performance. It wasn't perfect by any stretch. I think anyone could admit that, and I think it was a weird one. I think if you're... I know, talking about like the manager and stuff, if you're either side of it, you could probably take a lot of arguments from that game to back up your opinions. But I think at the end of the day, it was really good to get 3 points. And I do think it would have given everyone a bit of a lift just to get that home win off your back, have those players back, have one of them, two of them especially in Maddison and Vicario make a big difference in the performance as well. And just overall have that bit of positivity. I think sometimes when you're in the funk that we have, even if it's not the best win, you just need to stop the rot somehow. And I think that was the main aim yesterday.
Yeah, and I think whether you're for or against the manager, all you want is a successful Tottenham Hotspur and 3 points on the board, and that's exactly what we got yesterday. So
sure,
no one can complain. But yeah, let's start off talking about the protests, because obviously I was there yesterday. You were here. I mean, I didn't really see what the reaction was like on social media or through the various publications in the media like BBC and Sky Sports. I mean, I saw something slightly on Sky Sports after the game in the concourse it was on. But what was it like on all the media outlets?
I think people were very positive about the turnout, and people calling it a big turnout, big showing. That was what the kind of words were being used. And obviously the images, you could see swaves of people marching down the high road. So I think all in all, it got received pretty positively. There was no really images or videos, circulating like the previous protests of incendiary chanting or anything like that. So I think when it comes to people discrediting the protests, like maybe that's happened in previous times, I think that wasn't the case on this occasion. I think overall, it made a pretty positive impact online. Everyone was very positive about what they were seeing, and I think people recognised that this was definitely a lot different to the previous protests, which I definitely think was the case.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was great to be there. Just the sheer number, because when we first got to a point, I got there quite early with Danny, and there was about probably around 20, 30, 40 people there just gathering, and then as the minutes go by, as the more people started gathering, and it was just like by the time we were ready to march, it was such a sheer amount of people, such a large amount of people. I just couldn't quite believe my eyes. And then people just carried on joining throughout the march as well. And it was just unbelievable. I just couldn't believe. I mean, I expected big numbers, but I didn't expect something like that. Like, I don't know how many were there. On BBC, they were reporting between 1,000 and 2,000. I probably think somewhere in between that is probably accurate.
I know Tom Barkley of The Sun was reporting around 2,000.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the number, because like I said on the fan show yesterday, like I was right at the front trying to get footage from the front, and then I held back a little bit just to see if the line ever ends, and it just wasn't. And I was standing there for a good amount of time waiting for people to pass. And look, yesterday the fans made themselves heard, that's for sure. Made a lot of noise in a respectful way and in a good manner. And I think, a lot of people have talked down on the Levy and Ealing Out protest before, being like, oh, you're just a bunch of thugs standing on the side of the street, which is an idea which I've never really prescribed to. But yesterday you cannot have that kind of feeling, because yesterday was done in a proper way, a proper manner. And I think all the Enoch out and Levy out and people that were involved yesterday did themselves proud, because it's very easy for something like that to turn a bit nasty at points, and it never did.
Yeah, and I think as well, to mobilise that many people, like there's been struggles in the past to do that and get everyone coordinated doing the same thing. And that was what was achieved yesterday, which was great. And hopefully the club take a bit of notice. Obviously, I don't think one protest, as much as it was a lot bigger than previous, it's still only a maximum probably a couple thousand people. So I don't think one protest is going to change anything. But if it's regularly that kind of size, or hopefully more, then I think they'll have no option. They won't be able to ignore it forever. That's the reality.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's under the illusion that one protest of that size is gonna change anything. But the point is that when you're comparing that to previous protests, where it's like not even double, it's like quadruple, 6 times, whatever, 7-fold the amount of people.
Probably the largest one before was a couple of hundred, probably.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I mean, when you're looking at the numbers difference from,
so it could be 10 times even,
or even 10 times the numbers difference from previous to the one yesterday. Yesterday has got to be just a starting point, in my opinion. And Change for Spurs, with the way they've organised it, the way they've gone about kind of being able to get this many number of people and get everyone to be very respectful and everything like that is just a joy to behold. And it's got to be a starting block, a building block, and we go from there, because I do feel like this will gather momentum, and I think it will grow from there. When we were on the march down, you did see a lot of people maybe towards the stadium that weren't on the march to the sides, being like in full support of what we were doing. So that maybe suggests that a lot of people maybe didn't even know that this was taking place, and still more people that are of the same kind of thinking will be able to get involved in future events.
Yeah, I do think it'll be interesting. I'm hoping, or I'm interested to see how many more protests are organised from now to the end of the season. And as well, I would be interested to see, because obviously right now we're on a terrible run of form, especially at home. I know we got the win yesterday, but it would be interesting to see if our form does turn and we are in like a deep run Europa League, what kind of impact that would have on people attending these protests. It would be interesting. I hope it wouldn't affect the numbers, but I know that football fans can be fickle at times. So if it was if the fans were to keep the pressure on, just regardless of results, I think that would be the most telling thing.
Yeah. But everything will be revealed in the coming weeks. So I do believe that there will be another one planned at a certain home game in the coming weeks. So we'll see what happens. But I just want to say big up to anyone that turned up at the protest yesterday, because you did yourselves a massive credit for the cause. And I loved being a part of it yesterday. I really did. So I was supposed to be on the watch along, and Sim was like, I think you better go to the process. This is more your bag. And it definitely was, because I had a great day yesterday. So big up to everyone involved, and definitely a big up to Change for Spurs and Jay for the organisation of it all. So yeah, bigger and better next time. But that's the most amazing starting point that we could have probably hoped for in terms of Change for Spurs. So let's move on. Let's talk about the game, because it wasn't the greatest game by any stretch of the imagination. I thought it gave the fans a lift for sure when you saw Maddison and Vicario in the starting lineup, and then you look at the bench and you're like, wow, we're not running a creche anymore. What is going on? Odebear on the bench, a doggy on the bench, Brennan Johnson on the bench, and you're like, wow, we've actually got some options.
Yeah, just before we get
change the game.
Before we get into the game, was it a bit of a surprise to see Odebear on the bench? Because a lot of people were saying he wasn't going to be available till near the end of the season. People even saying, even though he's back in training, he's not going to touch grass until 2-3 weeks, and he's going to be bedded in slowly. And look, to be fair, he only got 5 minutes, so I think he will be bedded in slowly. It was a great 5 minutes, but I guess when you're seeing, I was a bit surprised at the beginning when I saw his name, because I was like, is he really available to play straight away? I thought they were going to be a bit more careful with him.
I was surprised to see Brennan on the bench as well. But yeah, I guess particularly Odebear. We did hear, didn't we, a couple of months ago that we put on social media that he'll be back in training on the 10th.
Yeah. But then, because I think it was Paul O'Keefe said a while ago, he's going to probably miss a large chunk of the season, which, to be fair, he has. But he was kind of insinuating he will only be back later on. Yeah, and people were saying, he's going to be back in training in February. He said, yeah, but he's not going to be anywhere near ready till April.
Yeah, but to be fair to Paul O'Keefe, he did reply to our tweet saying he's back in training on the 10th. And someone basically atted him in it and saying, is there any truth in this? I thought you said he's going to miss a large chunk of the season. And Paul O'Keefe just replied, it depends what your definition of large part of the season is.
Okay, fair enough.
So I don't know. He didn't actually say he's going to be March and beyond. Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough. But really great to have him back. And you could just see the impact he made in that 5-minute cameo. But anyway, that was from the lineup. As you say, in terms of as well in the lineup, gave a bit of a break to Archie Gray, which was nice because I think he needed it, the amount of football he's played. And I thought the lineup was probably a pretty good lineup, I think. And he went with, what I liked about it is he went with Maddison with Bergvall together, which was a big departure, obviously, from the that midfield we had at Anfield, which I know Maddison was unavailable for anyway, but I like that Ange wanted a bit more technical ability in there to get your foot on the ball and not just look for legs. And that was what we were maybe worried about a bit in the lead up to this game. We predicted Sarr to play with Basuma, but he went for players who are much more comfortable on the ball with Maddison and Bergvall and even Bentancur. So I think that was good. And I think for large parts of that first half, it did work.
Yeah, it did work, albeit, United did seem to have a couple of chances. You look at that one where Garnacho got the freedom of our right-hand side, and he really should have polished it off at that point. And just before we scored, I think they had like a triple chance in one kind of move. So I thought those two were probably the only real times they opened us up in the first half, but they were still quite significant chances, and they could have easily scored.
Yeah, the first one comes from a very speculative ball from Maguire, just playing it down the channels. And if you actually watch it, Davis is like running towards He's not even running towards the ball. He's running to block off Højlund. And he then looks to his left. He realises Højlund's not there. And he completely loses him. And Højlund gets the edge on him. He gets to cut inside. He shoots. Vicario makes a good save. It falls to Garnacho. His long-range shot is well saved again by Vicario. Then Dalot at the far post probably could be doing better with that effort. And Davis ends up making up for a mistake. But I think if that's Van de Ven, I don't think that happens. I think Van de Ven cuts out that pass quite simply. But I think Davis kind of made a pig zero of it a bit and allowed Man United to get in. And then the other one you're talking about, that came from a few struggles we are going through in that little period for about 5-10 minutes where we were trying to build up from the back, and United were catching us on a few occasions, and that was one of them. Actually, that one came from a really poor blind pass from Decky. He just blindly plays it inside, which, to be honest, that is something that I've seen a few of our players do now. So I'm starting to question whether it's a move that we work on in training, but these players keep getting wrong, or it's an instruction, because I think at Villa Park, I saw Tell do it for the goal we conceded, the second goal we conceded. I've seen Son do that a number of times this season, play these blind passes in field, which basically, if you get it wrong, because you're playing it in field, straight line, it just basically invites pressure. The opposition going to directly attack you if you get that wrong. And Decky did that yesterday.
We've seen Basuma doing it a number of times as well.
Basuma's done it, so that is something we need to sort out. I think I'm guessing what the theory behind it is, we play these little parts inside because we're supposed to be well coordinated, where these players should be in position to pick up those passes and get beyond the United attackers, but we keep getting them wrong at the moment, and that's something we definitely need to look at as to why we keep making these blind, seemingly suicidal inside passes, like with little care with where they're going, and that is continuously putting us under pressure. And that's where the Garnacho chance came, because Decky played this blind pass inside. I think it was Bruno wins the header ahead of I think it was Bentancur. Xerxes picks up the ball, plays it back to Bruno. He plays a quick through ball. We're disorganised because we've just lost the ball in build up. Bruno plays a quick ball to Garnacho, and yeah, we're lucky it wasn't 1-1 at that point. But in terms of our goal, though, fairly decent move. Good move between Porro and Bentancur. Good build up between the right hand side. Good ball from Bentancur to Son to the back post. His kind of shot or cross was blocked. Fells to Bergvall. Snapshot from him. And saved by Onana, and Maddison pits the rebound in. What I would say is I think Onana should be doing a lot better with that, because it wasn't the most powerful shot, was it? And I think a top keeper either parries that well beyond the goal or even hangs on to it, because I think he probably could have held that. I think that shot from Bergvall spills it, and Maddison, I don't know if he silences the critics, but in his mind he was definitely sending a message to Roy Keane with his he did that and then the dart celebration. So what did you make of him firing back at Roy Keane?
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Roy Keane had some very harsh words for him, didn't he, on what show was it? The Overlap.
Yeah, the Overlap.
Yeah, and
he said, "What's Maddison? How do you expect Maddison to come in? And he's not a guy you wait for and expect things to turn around."
Yeah, and Ian Wright, fair to him, was in full defence of Maddison at the time. He's like, "Maddison, you're the only one that can shut this guy up," and that's what he did. And I like those kind of celebrations. I like it when players have a bit of personality, because in this day and age, and the days of, over media trained players and everything like that, sometimes you lose the human element and the kind of shithousery element of football. And I hate the way that the Premier League in particular are trying to sanitize that kind of side of the game. It really winds me up and annoys me, and so I like it when I see these kind of players snapping back like that and just showing they're human. That's what it's all about. That's why we fell in love with the game, like these kind of moments as well. Not the sole reason, but definitely part of the reason,
for sure.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of Maddison doing something like that. And in terms of Maddison in his performance yesterday, I feel like he did come back with a bit of a point to prove. Not just the goal, but his performance in the first half. He was all over the place. He was, dropping deep.
In a good way.
Yeah. He was all over the show. He was running the show. He was dropping deep, playing these lovely balls in behind. He was dictating the tempo of the game. I think Man United, I don't know what their instruction was to try and stop him, but it feels like they had no instruction at all to try and stop him, because what they were doing was basically any time he had the ball, he had so much time, so much space, so much everything to strut his stuff and to do what he needs to do. Maddison must have thought he struck gold yesterday, because no one made any attempt to stop him.
Well, I thought he was fouled quite a few times, Maddison, especially early on. Like, he was doing his little love. I love it when
how much time and space did he have on the ball?
And when Maddison's in the mood, when he does those movements where he picks the ball up, just a little quick swivel around the player, and he earns himself that little yard.
Yeah.
And he was doing that countless of times yesterday. And Man United definitely struggled to deal with that. And yeah, I think obviously Man United played their formation, the 3-4-3, with a double pivot, and I think they were outnumbered in the middle, and it led to Bergvall being able to have a lot of space, stride past players. It led to Maddison operating in those little pockets, especially he was coming deep to pick the ball up off the centre-back, and he was also getting the ball quite a bit in the final third as well. And Man United really struggled to deal with his movement and to deal with especially his quick touches and the sharpness he definitely came into the game with. And for sure, for those first 45, I was thinking this guy is probably man of the match at the moment. He's the best player on the pitch. They really couldn't contain him, and it was really great. Obviously, he got the goal, and it was really great to see him in the mood he was in, because we know when he's in that's the kind of what we expect from Maddison. And what's also quite encouraging is we saw last season, I know it was maybe a bit different because it was a longer term injury, but we saw last season he was out for 3 months, and it really took him a while. We might even argue he never really hit the heights he hit when he came back from before his injury. But it was really encouraging that this time he came back, and he came back straight away, contributing and looking really sharp, and that was the most encouraging thing.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he wasn't out for that long this time, so it wasn't a significant injury.
But still, how many times have we heard, Maddison plays well, then gets an injury, and then you don't see the same Maddison?
I mean, we haven't seen him since the Hoffenheim game, so I mean, it's really not that long a time. I think when you're talking about his injury last time, it was a proper significant injury where he needed proper recovery time, where this time it's not really the same.
I know, I'm talking about the narrative around him. Yeah. Like when he was at Leicester and all these things. And it might be true. I'm just saying it was really encouraging that he came back from an injury, and he came back flying. And especially as Ange even said, he was ahead of schedule. So maybe is there fears that he could be rushed back and all these different things. But he came back and he looked at his sharpest and at his best. And that was, probably the most encouraging thing from his performance.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think in the second half, he didn't really come out with the same kind of maybe vibe that he had in that first half. I thought second half maybe he was just a bit tired, and after 2-3 weeks out not kicking a ball, and you put in such a shift in that first half, he just didn't have that same impact in the second half. And then maybe it's just because he's coming back from the injury.
But just before you went off, he made that brilliant challenge. I think it was on Bruno, maybe it was.
Yeah.
From, he made one really big run, got that sliding challenge in, won the ball back, and then he went off substituted.
Yeah.
I saw actually, I can't remember who, I saw seeing some reactions yesterday, some people doing watch-alongs and whatever. So I was watching some, and there was quite a bit of head loss I saw from a few people saying, why is he taking Maddison off? He's our best player, he's his manager, what's he doing? But I just think...
There was that from a certain person sitting next to me as well.
Was there?
Mr. Danny Kiriakou, he's you go, why is he taking Maddison off? And I said to him, chill, man. He's just come back from injury.
Yeah, I think you can't have it both ways.
You're right.
You know, you can't say, oh, he doesn't rotate, he doesn't protect, and when he does it, you're like battering him for that as well. Like you can either you say that's what you want, or you can't criticize him the other way.
It's just a natural reaction though when someone's playing so well and he goes off so early in the game when the game's still in the balance. I think it's just a natural reaction.
Yeah, I get it, and it's also like when you're in the game, you know, you don't see the bigger picture. You just see about that specific game and how you're going to win it. So, I think that's fair enough. I understand it, but I'm just saying I saw a bit of it, and I think people got to understand that he's come back from an injury. And look, we've got players on the beauty is we have players on the bench we can now bring on and to kind of make the impact and change the game.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
I felt like Spurs were, you know, good value for the win yesterday. I think we deserved the win. I thought we were controlling it for the most part. But
one thing that definitely looked better was the press. The press was a lot more coordinated, I think it's fair to say.
And I just felt like we just held a much better shape about us as well. We just looked a lot more kind of assured in the system that we were playing. We looked much more assured and calm on the ball. Where in the last few games, well, the last couple of months, it's just been a bit too erratic. A lot of people don't know what they're doing and trying to change up the system a bit here and there, and it just seems like a lot of players might have been a bit confused on the pitch. I thought everyone knew their roles yesterday. And look, it didn't mean that we were unbelievable, we were perfect, we were far from it. You know, it wasn't a vintage Spurs display by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a display where we deserved the win. We did concede a few too many chances to this Manchester United team for my liking, because you look at Man United, they're really struggling to create, and they created a bit too much against us for for the chances that they have been creating in the last couple of games.
For sure, and I think, especially, you know, United side who are struggling probably as badly as us now as we were, you know, before this game.
This is their first game with it, though.
Yeah, 100%. And so, you know, they can maybe deal with it a bit better than we have when we were doing it for 2 months. But I think definitely there were moments where Man United did have the ascendancy and they did have a bit of control, and especially I think in the second half, I think how the second half started, they started quite well and they were really getting into the game. They were using the wing backs really effectively. Dorgu, Dalot were getting in all sorts of spaces, whipping in some early crosses into Højlund and into Xerxes. I thought Xerxes, funnily enough, I thought he had a really good game. I thought he was someone who we struggled to deal with when he was on the ball, doing little nutmegs, little close controls and really good link play with Bruno. He was one player I thought we struggled to contain when he got the ball. It seemed to like they were able to sustain some sort of attack. But I thought our pressing when they were playing out the back was a lot better than it has been. I thought they struggled a lot in their build up due to our intensity. I thought we were outnumbering them a lot in the midfield. But I think the chances we gave them were a lot of them from our own making, problems with our own build-up. I thought when they were pressing from our goal kicks, there were times where we were going long to tell and we were losing it quite easily, and we were giving it to Decky and he wasn't hanging on to the ball too much on the right-hand side. So definitely wasn't perfect in that front. We probably allowed a few too many crosses. And as well, there are some snapshots you can see where United are whipping in crosses, and there are, again, players free at the back post. And if they got those crosses right, it could have been a different story. On top of that, they did create chances as well. Xerxes had that unbelievable header. Garnacho has that chance in the first half, you know, clear on goal. So definitely moments where you could say we got a bit lucky not to concede, and definitely moments where we were a bit disorganised at the back where we should have been a lot better. But I also feel like we had a number of chances, especially in the last 15 minutes on the breakaway, where we just didn't make anywhere near enough of them. We were actually doing really well to nick the ball in really dangerous areas in terms of United were piling players forward. They were obviously playing it around the midfield. Then we would like nick it on the edge of our box, and all of a sudden we'd spring to the counters. We'd have Tel, we'd have Son, we'd have players forward, and consistently they were picking the wrong options, they were doing the wrong things, and the chances were gone. And if we would have made it, like, as much as people could say United could have easily equalised, we also could have easily made it 2 or 3-0 in that front, and we were also equally as wasteful. So I think there's enough things to be frustrated about, and I don't think that performance overall is going to convince anyone that we're set to go on a mad winning streak. But I also think you can't deny that we definitely looked more organised. We definitely looked a lot fresher and a lot more energetic, and I think it's hard to disagree that the players come back from injury made an impact.
Yeah, they definitely made an impact, no doubt about it. And the one player that is just consistently making impact now, and that is Jed Spence. Got man of the match yesterday. He was my man of the match as well. I think he was your man of the match as well. I mean, he just dominated that left-hand side, didn't he? And they just didn't know how to deal with him. Mazraoui must be having nightmares of Jed Spence tonight because he just kept taking him on, kept beating him. He kept driving. He was the only player actually yesterday, which I noticed, that was finding that space and just driving into it. A lot of players just saw the space and they were just like passing it around a little bit. And I was calling for a number of these players, just look at that space and drive into it. And Jed Spence was the only one that took it upon himself to make himself a real nuisance for the opposition. And from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive standpoint, I thought he just played such a great game yesterday.
I thought he was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. The amount of times, especially in that last half an hour, where United were looking to get control of the game and he would pick the ball up, and he would have people like Dalot and Mazraoui up against him, who are obviously used to dealing with, you know, high-class wingers in the Premier League, and they're coming up against Jed Spence and they just couldn't handle him. They couldn't out-muscle him. They couldn't out-muscle him at all. He was able to wriggle away of certain situations. I thought his dribbling, he was going past them like they weren't there. And this is our, you know, backup left back, or supposedly backup left back, right now, doing that to Man United's first choice defenders. And I thought that was a real testament to his ability on the ball, his strength on the ball, his speed, his ability to get it past even some really good fullbacks like in Mazraoui and Dalot, who are very good defensively, is their biggest strength. And Spence made them look like poor players, made them look like really poor fullbacks. And I thought defensively, I thought he did his job pretty well. I don't think anyone really got past him at all throughout the whole game. I thought his recovery runs were really good. And also, he made that really good sliding challenge block for Højlund as well. And when he looked like he could score, brilliant sliding challenge to prevent that for when we looked like we got opened up for a moment. And Jed Spence got us out of trouble. And also he created chances. I think he was one who set up that chance for Tell, ball across the face of goal, and Tell blazed it over. Should have been doing better, but that was all came from a Spence run. And it felt like whenever he saw space, he wasn't scared to drive into it. He's like, if I see space, I'm gonna charge into it. I'm gonna exploit it. And United just didn't know how to handle that, and it just created space for a lot of other players once they had to, you know, use players to commit to closing that space where Spence was exploiting, and it left spaces for Son, for Maddison and other players to really exploit. So I thought he had a brilliant performance. He's getting better by the week. I thought this was his best performance of the season so far. He seems to be getting better and better, and he's still kind of playing out of position as well, which is a testament to his versatility. So, you know, the England squad's coming up. There's a lot of talk about it, which I think he definitely deserves. Whether he'll make it or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I think he definitely deserves it, and I think he's playing unbelievably at the moment. And once Udogi's back to full fitness, Ange is definitely going to have a hard decision to make when it comes to bigger games and who he plays. Because right now you can't leave Spence out.
No, you cannot. And I want to see us persist with Spence, whether it be at left back or right back. I really want to see the duo of Spence and Udogi at fullbacks when Udogi gets back to full fitness, because I think that could be something really positive for us. Another player who I want to talk about is Kevin Danso, because I thought he played really well yesterday. The way he kind of just steps out from defence into the midfield and makes those runs, I thought was brilliant. Really strong in the tackle as well. The amount of brilliant challenges he made yesterday, and he's just really strong. He's just like an ox, isn't he? Bloody hell. And, you know, just have these options now with Danso, Van de Ven, Romero, when these guys get back. It's going to just do us the world of good. And I think, I wouldn't say concerned, because I do think it's better than what we've got with Dragoshin. I think on the ball, he's not as good as maybe a Cuti Romero, but I mean, that's not saying much, because Cuti Romero is unbelievable on the ball. But I thought he was going to be a little bit better on the ball when we signed him, but I think that the way he kind of makes space for himself and just charges into that empty space in midfield, a lot of times our players didn't find him yesterday when he had like acres of space, and maybe they went for the wrong option. So maybe when they learn his game a bit more and they've been on the field with him a bit more, they'll start to learn that. But he was finding himself in such great spaces yesterday. Yeah,
he's definitely brave on the ball. One moment that stood out for me, which really kind of showed me how much better he is on the ball than Dragoshin. There was one moment where he picks the ball up from centre-back, he charges forward, he then charges into the space on the right side, he then does a 1-2 of Porro, he plays the ball to Porro, continues his run down the line, and Porro just plays that pass down the line, and all of a sudden we start on an attack, and I'm like, I just don't see Dragshin ever doing that. Dragshin would be way too scared to kind of take the ball as far and continue his run like that. And I think Danso is very clearly a brave player. He's fearless. He's very, very strong, I thought. And as well, his recovery pace is pretty good because, again, you saw that moment the ball gets played in behind. Hoyland's looking like he's going to be an on goal. He's looking like he's going to get beyond Danso. But Danso made sure he got there first, and he made sure he got the ball back to Vicario. And I think he was absolutely great in those moments. And I think, on the ball, I think he kept it a lot simpler yesterday in most aspects, and was making sure he was just playing the simple pass, wasn't looking to play too many forward passes like he's maybe overhit in a few of the other games. But definitely with his positioning, you can see if he sees space, he exploits it and he goes for it. He doesn't think, I'm a centre-back, I have to be in this position, which maybe is a problem. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But I think when we're on the ball and he sees a bit of space in the middle of the park and he wants to be a passing option, he'll make the run. He'll move into that position, which I don't think people like Dragshin do and enough of the time. So I think in terms of his bravery and his kind of the way he plays, I do think he's really good fit for what we're trying to do compared to Dragshin, who seems to be a bit more of a safety first kind of defender.
Yeah, exactly. And 100% it suits the system a lot more. I couldn't agree more. I mean, the two players as well, in Deki and Porro, out on that right-hand side, I do think the week's rest did them both the world of good. I think it showed a lot more with Porro than maybe Kulusevski, but I think Kulusevski's just, the energy levels were, I wouldn't say completely back, but it was a lot better than what we've seen in previous weeks. I felt like even towards the end of the game, he was able to make those charges up the pitch and provide quality for the team. But I felt Kulusevski just wasn't really at his game that well yesterday. He did create a little bit, but nowhere near the chance creation, which he usually does. And in terms of being aggressive and winning those duels, he kind of came second best to a lot of those as well yesterday.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think it was his best game. I thought up against Dorgu as well, I thought actually Dorgu had a fairly decent game. I thought he wasn't able to get that physical advantage on enough occasions. He did it a couple of times and got to the byline and got a few crosses in, but again, wasn't able to create those chances. And I think he moved into the centre for the last 20 minutes, I think it was 20 minutes, or half an hour. Didn't think, again, was particularly good when he was in the centre either. I did think there was a few times, though, like on a breakaway, he made a really good run and it just wasn't found. I think Tell and Son on a couple of occasions didn't find him and had their head down or played a poor pass. So maybe it could have been different. But I also think, again, it just wasn't his best game. I don't think it was maybe as bad as it has been in other games. I think it was better, but I will still think, we know what Deki's capable of, and I still didn't think he reached those heights yesterday. Far from it, I would say.
Yeah, and I think with players coming back now, it's a good opportunity to give him a rest. With Brennan Johnson back in the frame now, Wilson Odobert, these kind of guys are going to come back. Maddison, they're going to come back and give him a bit of respite, and the bit of respite which he desperately needs. That's the reality. And I think it did show yesterday as well that he still needs a rest, but I did feel like the energy levels were probably better than what we have seen in previous weeks. And I think with Pedro Porro as well, Pedro obviously was caught out a couple of times at right back, which we know with the positions he takes up on the pitch. But I think from an offensive standpoint, he was kind of back at it, wasn't he?
Brilliant, some brilliant crosses. I thought he was really on it. I thought, again, one of the players who, when he picks up the ball in the final third, you're thinking he's going to put this delivery on a play. And he did create a few really good opportunities, which we should have done a lot more with. So I thought going forward, he was really good. He did obviously get caught out for that Garnacho chance, but I thought that was more due to our failures in build-up than I think Porro himself. But obviously he did get caught in that moment. And actually, if you see the chance, he comes rushing towards Bruno when I don't know why he's the one doing that. Why isn't it one of the players who play centrally to rush towards him? And Bruno was able to quickly play the pass to the space which he vacated, and bam, it was a really good chance. So I think still stuff to work on for Porro, but on the ball, I think he's one of the best players in our team, to be honest, with that ability. He has that passing ability, that crossing ability. That's the problem. If you take him out for Spence, you lose that ability as well. But Spence has also shown a propensity to create chances. So it'll be interesting to see what Ange does when they're all fully fit, they're all on top of their game, and when a dog is back, which he was on the bench yesterday, he didn't get any minutes, but when he's back, it's going to be very, very interesting. Kind of what our first choice fullback pairing will be.
Yeah.
I don't know what it will be, but in terms of overall, I know people say United are a mess. United are it was not impressive beating them, and I have to agree they're not a good team at the moment, and they're clearly team not only struggling with injury but struggling with form, struggling with adapting to Amorim's kind of system. But it is still a team that went to the Etihad and won, went to Anfield and got a draw, went to the Emirates and ground out penalties and went for on penalties in the FA Cup with 10 men as well. Went to Fulham not so long ago, won 1-0. So, it's not like the easiest win in the world, as much as it wasn't. We didn't have to be on our best to win. I think that's for certain. But you can never take this win for granted. And I know United, we should have won this game. And going in, we all wanted to win, and we did get the win. But as I've said, away from home, they've actually had some really good results against some really big teams. So
results,
to
yes,
beat them.
but performances, no. Like they
They're
are
good at Anfield.
Yeah, maybe one game you're talking about in the Ruben Amorim since he's come in, but the majority of games that they've played this season, they've been awful. Their chance creation has been little, next to nothing. They've been maybe more solid defensively since Amorim has come in and Ten Hag has left, but they are a really poor side. They really are, and I think in terms of form, not results form, but in terms of form, in terms of how the team is playing, I think the only team worse than them at the moment are Leicester. I genuinely believe that.
Look, you might be right. All I'm saying is, better teams than us have struggled to beat them at home in recent weeks, and we got the job done, and I think deservedly so. We won 1-0. I don't think it's gonna change any opinions that win and the way we won it until we see us really flying and getting wins like we were maybe early in the season. We're really blowing teams away. I think that's when people will maybe give the manager a bit of a break. I think right now, obviously, look, wins ease the pressure. It's only natural. It will ease the pressure a bit, but we have to really grab this momentum. And now, hopefully, getting the win or 2 wins on the trot now in the league, getting players back as well. Now 1 game week as well, so have that rest time at the same time. Hopefully, those kind of all these issues kind of being resolved a bit will lead to some really positive momentum. It's easier said than done. We've got to go out and win these games, and we have to prove that the run that we were on before doesn't really represent the true nature of this team. And if we could do that, then people will start to believe in the manager again. But I think right now he's still, obviously we've got a lot of work to do, and I know that. Yesterday I don't think we were amazing. Like, we were good. We were probably okay. We were good. We were good, more organised, more fresher. It was a step in the right direction. But United as well still had enough chances to probably get something out of the game on another day. As much as we should have put them outside, we didn't, and we nearly got punished for it. So I think, still a lot of work to do. But I think it's also only natural that is going to happen it's only their first game back as well for a lot of these players. They need to get back in the swing of things, and they need to get more minutes on the training ground and get back up to speed. And I think that's only natural, and I think that will happen. So let's just hope we can go on a really positive run now.
Yeah, let's hope so. And look, I've said it many times now, but as much I couldn't want anything more than for Ange Postecoglou to prove me wrong and for us to go on a really good run and to go far in the Europa League. And look, we've got an opportunity now with all these players coming back for Ange to go, I'm going to prove you all wrong now, and I'm going to go on a big run, and I'm going to turn and I'm going to prove you all wrong. And I really hope that is the case, but jury is still massively out.
Do you think we can do it, though? Do you think we can go on a good run?
I hope so. I mean, look,
I think we can.
I don't know if we can, because we've got some really hard games coming up. We've got Man City coming up after Ipswich. We've got Bournemouth, Fulham, Chelsea away.
Yeah, but these teams now are starting to suffer from a similar injury crisis. Not maybe as bad, but still quite bad injury crisis. These teams, United stuff definitely made a difference to United yesterday. The fact they couldn't really bring on a sub definitely made a difference to them. You say Bournemouth, Chelsea, they've also got big injury problems now coming.
But
now
Bournemouth
we're facing
have
them.
been able to handle those injuries. They're kind of like smashing everyone with the injury crisis. Look at the results that they're getting. They're looking like a really serious team, Bournemouth, and they're actually they're going for like top 4 at the moment with all these injuries. So, And Man City as well. Man City seem to have turned a corner. Look at what they were like. They were brilliant on the weekend. It seemed like they were to the Man City of old with that performance of this completely dispatching Newcastle like they're some relegation fodder. That's what it was like. It was complete domination for Man City, and there's Nico Gonzalez in the middle seemed to have made all the difference on the weekend. So I am really worried coming up against Bournemouth and Man City in the next 2-3 weeks. But look, if we can go on a run now, then I think a lot of people's opinions on Ange Postecoglou will definitely change. I think he needs to finish in the top half of the table, and I think it is within our grasp.
Well, what, we're 7 points behind now?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not near, but just keep chipping away.
No, but
from
I think if we go on a good run from now to the end of the season and show some sort of consistency in the league, I think we will be in the top half.
I think we will. I think we will. If we can keep these players fit, keep this good feeling, I don't see a reason why not. I just don't know if we can do it. And, you look back with all the players coming back yesterday, 3 more players get knocks and go off the pitch yesterday with Son, Danso and Rodrigo Bentancur. I mean, Ange said after the game that he doesn't think it's anything significant, but he also said that Maddison was just a bit sore and then we didn't see him for 3 weeks. So yeah, you never really know until until they've come back into training on the Monday and see the extent of what's happened. Obviously, Danso looked like he picked up a knock and then he looked like he wanted to continue, and then Ange decided to take him off. Bentancur had ice on his knee, so whether it's just a bump or whether it's anything more serious, we'll have to wait and see. But he wasn't down the tunnel; he was on the touchline with it. And Sonny went off 5 minutes to go. He was a bit of a knock, but whether that was planned anyway to give Odegaard 5 minutes, I don't know. But he did say all 3 of them have knocks, so let's just hope they're right. But that happens in football. You get knocks. Let's just hope, that they turn out to be okay.
Let's hope so. But it seems like this has kind of been the theme all season, right? We see a few players coming back, then another few players go out.
That's been the law of the season.
Exactly. So I'm just hoping it's not the same again. But yeah, look, in terms of Ange, he's got from now until the end of the season to prove everyone wrong, and let's just hope he does that. Do I think he will do it? I don't know. The jury's out. I don't think yesterday's game has changed my mind in any sort of way, but I'm just hoping that he does turn it around, because I want him to succeed at Tottenham. That's the reality. So let's hope we can go far in the Europa League, and let's hope we can have a good end to the season with our players back, and let's hope we can keep some sort of players' fitness from now until the end of the season, because that's been a big struggle for us. But
what do you think we'd do if we did a poll now? Ange in, Ange out, what do you think it would be?
Well, I mean, it's always been the majority Ange in, so I still think
it was creeping toward, with each loss though, it was creeping towards Ange out.
It was, but I mean, I don't think it ever dropped below 60%, did it?
I think the last one we did was 55-45.
55. Not 40. Oh, yeah. 55 maybe. But I still think, I think it'll be above 55%. I think around 60%.
Go on then, let's see it. I think after a win, I think no one's ever going to say Ange out, I don't think, after. Not anyone, but Ange in or... Let's see. Let's see what you guys think out there.
The reality is, if you're Ange in, Ange out,
shake it all about.
Exactly. It doesn't really matter anymore, because we know he's going to be here till the end of the season. So whether you're Ange in or Ange out, you may as well just put that to the side of your mind and just see what happens for the rest of the season, and then we take it from there.
Yeah, and I think obviously now we've got these 2 wins. Any thoughts of what people are worried about, relegation, all this stuff? It's definitely not going to happen now, and I think Tottenham can finally start looking upwards instead of behind us. I think.
Exactly, and that's when I said sack Ange now, when we were like creeping towards a relegation zone, and I think that win against Brentford did a lot in terms of saying, look, we ain't getting relegated now. I don't think it's any sort of fear. 10 points above, it's just not going to happen. So now we're getting our players back. I think it's important to give Ange these players and give Ange this time to see if he can turn it around, and then we'll know.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,